Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, the 10th of November, 2024. Wanted to jump on right quick, do a little bit longer video today, talk about a little bit of the election and what has happened there. And then we're also going to talk about something called Operation Sea Spray. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but it was kind of interesting when I read about it. And you can read about it too, because it's right on Wikipedia. So first, let's talk about, obviously, we know just the other day Donald Trump won the election. Here's the final map right here, 226 to 312. Looks like 74,716,275 votes for Trump and 70,992,229 votes for Kamala. It seems as if the only states that voted for Kamala were the ones that didn't require voter ID. So that's kind of interesting. Now let's take a look at those numbers. 74 million, okay? And that was a pretty big amount of people who voted for Trump. Not saying that, there wasn't people who voted for Kamala, because they did. Well, a lot of them probably weren't from this country, but they still did vote. But if you look back in 2020, Biden ended with 81,283,501 votes to win the 2020 election. Now, like I said, Kamala had 70 million. Donald Trump won with 74 million. And in 16, Trump won with 62,979,000. Hillary in 2016 had 65,844,610. Some of these numbers ain't mathing for Biden to have won by 81 million votes. Barack Obama won, the Democratic nominee there, with, around the same 67 to 70 million. It's almost unheard of for them to have, 11 million extra votes in an election year solely for that one candidate. And, we're finding out right now in Arizona, Kari Lake lost her election, but Donald Trump won his. It's weird that the whole state turned out to vote Republican for Donald Trump, but voted Democrat for the Senate and Congress, and it makes no sense whatsoever. So, I don't know if anybody has seen Dinesh D'Souza has a little show called 2,000 Mules. I suggest you watch it. It's very informative. And it's not only him telling you how they were able to get that extra 11 million votes for Joe Biden in 2020, but it shows you via satellite imagery, cameras, phone pinging, and where they went to get the money that Mark Zuckerberg himself sat in Congress and said that he donated $400 million, where they were going and getting that money from the churches and being paid for stuffing those ballots in the boxes. It shows you right down to the phone, the camera, the ballot box, right up to when they put it in there. It shows you everything. And that is Dinesh D'Souza's 2,000 Mules. Check that out. Now, we're going to switch focus. Obviously, we know that President Trump-elect is going to be inaugurated in January. We hope nothing happens. There's a lot of people talking about coups that they're going to try to pull off. One where Kamala gets installed as the president for the next 2 months, and then they try to enact martial law. A bunch of different things. People are saying that they're being way too nice. Biden calling Trump on the phone. Kamala saying that there's going to be a peaceful transition of power. Is it because they have a coup planned, or is it because they are terrified of what is in store, means they set the precedents by going after Donald Trump with all of these different criminal cases? Is it that the reason that they are being extremely nice? It could be. Very well could be. A lot of things on the agenda coming up here in 2025 that they're saying that they're going to do. I hope they follow through with all of them, because A lot of those plans sound pretty good. But, like I said, we're going to tell you a little bit about Operation Sea Spray. And pay close attention to when I'm reading about Operation Sea Spray. You'll think back to 2019, 2020, when we had a little thing called the vid going around. So let's have a listen here. Operation Sea Spray was a 1950 U.S. Navy secret biological warfare experiment in which a bacteria was sprayed over the San Francisco Bay Area in California in order to determine how vulnerable a city like San Francisco may be to a bioweapon. The military tests, starting on September 20th, 1950, and continuing until September 27th, the U.S. Navy released 2 types of bacteria from the ship off the shore of San Francisco, believing them to be harmless to humans. Based on the results from monitoring equipment at 43 locations around the city, the Army determined that San Francisco had received enough of a dose for nearly all of the city's 800,000 residents to inhale at least 5,000 of the particles. This is within the range of infectivity for anthrax. Illnesses. On October 11, 1950, 11 residents checked into Stanford Hospital in San Francisco with a very rare, serious urinary tract infection. Although 10 recovered, Edward J. Niven, who had recent prostate surgery, died 3 weeks later after a heart valve infection. The urinary tract outbreak was so unusual that the Stanford doctors wrote it up on a medical journal. None of the other hospitals in the city reported similar spikes in cases, and 11 victims had urinary tract infections following medical procedures, suggesting that the source of their infection was inside the hospital. Causes of pneumonia in San Francisco also increased after these infections were released through causal relations has not been conclusively established. The bacterium was also combined with phenol, an anthrax stimulant, and sprayed across the South Doris by the U.S. and U.K. military scientists as part of the DICE trials that ran from 1971 to 1975. There was no evidence that the Army had alerted the health authorities before they blanketed the region with bacteria. Doctors later wondered if the experiment might be responsible for heart valve infections around the same time, as well as serious infections seen among intravenous drug users in the 1960s and 70s. The hearings. In 1977, the U.S. Senate Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research held a series of hearings at which the U.S. Army disclosed the existence of tests. Army officials noted that the pneumonia outbreak in their testimony, but said any link to their experiments was totally coincidental. The Army pointed out that no other hospitals reported similar outbreaks, and all 11 victims had urinary tract infections following medical procedures, suggesting that the source of their infection was inside the hospital. In 1981, Niven's surviving family members filed a suit against the federal government alleging negligence and responsibility for the death of Edward J. Niven, as well as financial and emotional harm caused to Niven's wife from the medical cost. The lower court ruled against them primarily because the bacteria used in the test was unproven to be responsible for Niven's death, and Niven's family appealed the suit all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which declined to overturn the lower court judgments. Now, we've seen that in recent years with the vid, like I told you before. But let's go down even further. Similar biological warfare test. Between 1949 and 1969, open-air tests of biological agents were conducted 239 times. In 80 of those experiments, the Army said it used live bacteria that its researchers at the time thought were harmless. In the others, it used inherent chemicals to stimulate bacteria. In the 1950s, Army's researchers dispersed this type of bacteria on Panama City and Key West, Florida, with no known illnesses resulting. In 1950s, Army researchers dispensed zinc cardaminium sulfate, known as cancer-causing agents, over Minnesota and other Midwestern states to see how far they would spread in the atmosphere. The particles were detected more than 1,000 miles away in New York State. Never shown to be harmful was this Bacillus globuli, whatever it's called, has never shown to be harmful to people, was released in San Francisco, New York, Washington, D.C., and along the Pennsylvania Turnpike, amongst other places. In New York, military researchers in 1966 spread Bacillus subtilis, a variant Niger, also believed to be harmless, in the subway system by dropping light bulbs filled with the bacteria onto the track in the stations in Midtown Manhattan. The bacteria were carried for miles throughout the subway system. Army officials concluded in January 1968 report that similar covert attacks with pathogenic diseases causing agents during the peak traffic periods could be expected to expose large numbers of people to the infection and subsequent illness or death. In May of 1965, secret release of Bacillus globuli at Washington's National Airport and its Greyhound Lines bus terminal, more than 130 passengers were exposed to the bacteria and traveled to 39 cities in 7 states in the 2 weeks following the mock attack. Now, does that sound familiar to you at all? If it does, you're correct in thinking the same thing that I am. How were they able to get the vid spread so fast? Well, they've been testing it and practicing it for many, many years. And it's interesting that this all started taking place in 1950, because in September 13th, 1948 is when the CIA was developed. So that's another interesting thought. So let me know in the comments, what is your thoughts on the 11 million extra votes and Operation Sea Spray? Like I said, if you want to read more about it, you can go to Wikipedia and look at it yourself. Operation Sea Spray. Look it up. Let me know. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. We are at 105,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are going to do a $1,000 giveaway on a Visa gift card. I will be putting together the details. Like I said, I will let you all know how to get in on that giveaway. That'll be coming up very soon. If there's anything that you would like to hear or have me talk about, or you would like to have me sing, let me know, and I'll do my best to get it on here. Thank you all for watching, and we love you all. We'll see you on the next video.